Hello, this is Savage Jim, and this is my Springfield M1A rifle. I purchased my rifle approximately about 15 years ago, and I paid around $1,250 to $1,275 for it. The rifle can be purchased through Springfield Armory or just any local authorized Springfield Armory gun dealer. And well, I don't know what the cost would be today, but I assume for this particular model of my rifle, it would run around $1,400 to $1,700 depending on what options you get on it. Mine is not quite the basic run-of-the-mill M1A that you could get from Springfield. Mine is fitted with the stainless steel heavier barrel. They call it the National Match Rifle Barrel from what the paperwork said. And that's the forward end of it here. And it runs the length of the rifle all the way back to the receiver here. Let me see if I could steady my camera and show you over here. The back end of it, if you could see where my screwdriver blade is pointing, that's the back end of the heavy barrel screwed into the upper receiver right here. Now let me go over some of the background on the M1A. The M1A is the civilian version of the military issue M14 rifle. The M14 itself gets its lineage from the M1 Garand. Let me go over that in particular. As you can see, some of the carryovers from the M1 Garand into the M14s and thus also the M1A is the trigger guard assembly. This is the trigger and sear assembly is actually almost a direct carryover from the M1 Garand. Even the safety switch on the front end of the trigger guard is the exact same as the M1 Garand. And you also pull on the rear of the trigger guard to flip down and pull out the trigger assembly just like you would an M1 Garand to separate the lower and the upper receiver of the rifle. Another direct carryover is the action, well, just the design. The action and operating rod and the gas operation assembly is a direct carryover design from the M1 Garand. You can see that the M1A, which also is exactly the same on the M14, has this forward gas expansion chamber right here, this gas expansion cylinder. The difference between the M1 and the M14s and M1As is that the M1 and M14s, M1As and M14s, I'm sorry, have their gas expansion cylinder a little bit further back on the rifle barrel than the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand actually has its gas expansion cylinder much closer to the muzzle end of the rifle. Another key difference is the magazine. The old M1 used an 8-round en-bloc clip, which went into the receiver recess, just underneath this, just underneath the bolt. The M14 and M1A use a box-style magazine. This one is a 20-round box magazine, which is a military spec, and thus therefore superior to only the 8-round en-bloc magazine. Now you can get some of these magazines aftermarket that are capable of storing up to 30 rounds. Springfield, I believe, nowadays only sells their M1As with a 10-round magazine with the option to buy the 20-round box magazines. When I happened to buy mine came standard with 2 box magazines, the military spec box magazines. And well, the M14 also breaks away from the M1 in that it is chambered for the 7.62 by 51 NATO shell. I believe that's correct. 51 millimeters is the length of the shell. I can't remember. The M1A uses a very similar shell. It's almost exactly the same as the 7.62 NATO. It is called the 308 Winchester. I'll show you the shell in a little bit and discuss the differences between the 308 Winchester and the 30-06 shells. One of the other key differences I do want to discuss here is you can't see it. I'm trying to. I'll have to probably get a flashlight to show you. So, in the operating rod recess, this is the operating rod right here. That goes back and forth. It also rotates the bolt to open and lock it. Let me get this flashlight here and see if I could you can't yeah, you can't see it. This is hard to do with only two hands. I have a dummy shell in the chamber here and it's red, of course, to indicate to me that that the rifle is not loaded with a live round. Okay, I think you can see that right there. There is a wheel on this end of the wing of the bolt. The M1 Garand did not have that roller wheel. What this roller wheel does is it extends the life of the bolt and the operating rod by allowing it to function like a roller bearing. Well, exactly like a roller bearing, so that the life of the rifle will actually last several hundreds, maybe thousands of more rounds than what the old style M1 Garand operating rod used to. The M1A civilian version does have quite a few differences over the M14 military issue weapons. One of the key differences you'll know automatically is that the M1A is missing the select fire switch, which would probably be around back here. As you can see, Springfield milled this rifle stock without even a hole to put the selector switch assembly into. I have here a tech manual of the M14, and let me show you what you can see in this illustration. Just behind the charging handle is in the fully locked back position with the bolt open. And just follow my screwdriver blade right here. This switch right here above the trigger guard assembly, this is your select fire switch. And here is another picture of the select fire switch assembly. The civilian version completely lacks that feature, and therefore this particular rifle can only be fired in semi-automatic. It does not have the capability to fire in full automatic. Another key thing that many of you will notice about the M1A over the M14 is the forward sight assembly. The forward sight assembly is missing the bayonet lug. Springfield did not mill a bayonet lug into this forward sight assembly. And the flash suppressor on the M1A does not function as a flash suppressor. It only functions as a muzzle brake. It is meant to keep the rifle muzzle down with each firing. Whereas on the M14, this assembly actually functioned like its description, as a flash suppressor. I believe the National Firearms Act has been amended or otherwise repealed. I can't remember which, but I believe it is now allowable for rifles to have the bayonet lugs included on them again. I don't think that Springfield is continuing to mill their forward sight blades to include the bayonet lug again. Now for the ammunition, the M1A is chambered for the .308 Winchester. Trying to get it focused, but as usual my camera refuses to cooperate. There, .308 Winchester, and it's still not focusing properly. This is what a .308 Winchester looks like, and it shares almost exactly identical dimensions as the 7.62 NATO shell, which the M14 fires. I believe the only differences are maybe 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch here and there, as far as maybe the head chamber spacing right here on the shoulder of the neck down of this of the shell. And this is a 20 round box magazine, and the shells are just simply stacked on top of each other, and they're staggered down this magazine all the way down to the bottom of the box until you have 20 rounds stored in it. And as the action works, it simply pushes the shell out, loads it into the chamber, and then the weapon locks and it's ready to fire. Now the 7.62mm and its derivative, the .308 Winchester, replaced the 30-06, which the M1 Garand used to fire. Here is an en bloc clip of 8 rounds of 30-06. This en bloc clip is the magazine clip for the M1 Garand. As you can see, let me just go ahead and pop one out. The 30-06 shell is larger than the .308 Winchester and the .308 Winchester's brother, the 7.62 NATO. It's longer, but the bore diameter is exactly the same. They're both 30 caliber. Now the 30-06, from what I understand, uses an older powder, and it's not it doesn't have as an advanced a powder as the .308 Winchester or the 7.62 NATO, and thus the 7.62 NATO and .308 Winchester are able to match the 30-06 in ballistics performance. Now I'm going to go more in depth on the features of my M1A. Let me go ahead and begin with the safety. The safety is just like what I was saying. It's actuated by pushing it back like that into the trigger guard assembly towards the trigger. And I guess that's also a nice thing, because when you're ready to fire and you're out in the field or you're at the range, if you have your finger in the trigger well, all you have to do is push forward with your finger. The rifle is now ready to fire. This is a nifty little feature right here, which is present on the M14s, and which is also carried over on the M1A, is this stripper clip. What this does is allow you to reload a box magazine. Let's put a box magazine in right here. There we go. You have a stripper clip of 20 rounds. You attach the clip to this into those recesses on this mount right here, and you simply push down, either with a combination tool that comes with the rifle, or your hand if you feel confident enough that you won't hurt your palm, and it pushes down into the receiver well and loads your magazine. On this side of the rifle, you have a bolt lock. This lever here allows you to keep the bolt back in the locked position. That's the bolt in the forward position. When you want to lock the bolt back, you pull back on the operating rod. Let me steady my camera here. Pull back on the rod, push that, release, and the bolt remains back in the locked position. The magazine has this piece protruding out on the ammunition follower, the spring-loaded ammunition follower, and what this does from the inside of the well, this ammunition follower comes up, pushes up on the inside, so that when the last round is ejected, the bolt is locked back in the open position. Now, when I purchased my rifle, it did come with a couple of additional things. I have them stowed in the buttstock over here. I could actually access them with this plate that comes up. It's hinged, and let me get a light on here. There's this little door on the back end of the buttstock. I've already opened it. Let's go ahead and flip that up. Let me tip up the rifle so I could get out the additional accessories. I happen to have this multi-tool and a bore cleaning. Well, actually, this is the firing chamber cleaning brush. Surprisingly, when I purchased the rifle, it did not come with the bore cleaning rods, which would screw into this. Let me show you. I had to purchase an aftermarket cleaning rod kit here. You have your multi-tool. This would simply flip down. You screw that in. You have your patch needle eye on this side, screw it into this side, and then you could use the multi-tool to clean your rifle barrel. And of course I have brushes and patches to go with it, but I had to purchase those aftermarket. Over here you have your gas plug adjusting wrench. So that's your forward end of your gas chamber expansion cylinder. You put that in, and you could tighten or loosen the gas plug as necessary to optimize your shell loadings. You know, well, the weapon cycling. And this over here, what I was talking about earlier, for the stripper clip. You have a stripper clip over here that goes in here, and a strip of 20 rounds. This U-shape over here, you use that to push down on the shells in the stripper clip to push them into the magazine. And that's about all I know what this tool is used for. There's some additional things over here. I believe this is for accessing bits and pieces of the bolt, so that you could extract your firing pin and the firing pin spring, as well as the extractor, so that you could take it apart for cleaning. I pretty much beat up to death all the information that I could think about of the M1A, and so therefore we've come to a closing point. This therefore concludes my video. If you liked it, please like below and leave a comment if you feel so. Thank you.